it is accessible, it is acceptable, and it is affordable. The reason why this product, which I trust will be successful, is something that I've been working on, is because it aligns with my mission to ensure the integrity of food to scraps. Because with this successfully rendered, people will have the opportunity to receive food, transport food, and store food, and it will not be perhaps thrown away. And also, there will be an opportunity to reduce the amount of single use foodware and utensils in the process of someone who's getting donated food, hot meals given to them. I'm thinking without knowing, there's a possibility because I received a social innovation and public service grant from Georgetown University. This social innovation could qualify me to actually be a B Corps because this is a social enterprise. So with that, without any drum roll, sans tambour ni trompette, I'm going to take out my kit.
Well, those are the middles. Those are actually rejects. MiKit's
No one, no one would
the
have known that without you saying it, but you said it, and now the crowd is going off to the bathroom and perhaps to put more money in the parking meter or to go out and smoke a joint. I don't know, but you didn't have to reveal that. This is my kit. Whoa! Tray not quite as pedestal. What happened to my knife and fork and
I had to keep those, remember? Just in case you had to make some changes.
well, you know what I did?
Mm.
I ordered more.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Just one set. I didn't want to go over budget.
Yeah, seeing those, it was like what, 50 bucks for a set or something of like 100 or whatever.
It wasn't quite that bad actually, but the unit cost on the little clamshell is pretty inexpensive. So I like the size. I like the shape. I'm wondering if food can sit on top of it, or rather, the tray sit on top of it once it goes inside. I wonder if it could be completely clear, this top.
The top, yes. The middle, possibly. The bottom, absolutely.
And these items will be polished. What does that entail, the polishing?
Well, it depends on the manufacturing method. Bless you.
Okay, thank you.
Um, if you decided to keep the additive manufacturing method or 3D printing method, you would use some kind of like resin or sealant to seal the actual. Bless you.
Thank you.
You'd use a resin to seal the actual print itself, and then from that point, you'd use that to polish it. The other way, again, depending on manufacturing method, is to make a mold and polish the mold prior to, say, blow molding or vacuum forming or injection molding.
Um, we talked about injection molding,
Mhm.
and we talked about the interior having a blow mold, correct?
I believe it was the exterior being blow molded and the interior being injection molded.
How much was this to cost? How much did it cost to make it?
To print it,
Yeah.
um, I think it only added about $1 from the last one, so I think it's like 13.50 or something like that.
So it took 13 hours.
It took about 8.5 hours.
If you had a bigger machine, a different machine, could you print them faster?
A different machine, potentially. Uh, bigger machine, uh, bigger machine doesn't really have that much of an impact on it. It's more so the actual print method. If it was resin printed, um, may or may not have printed faster than that.
So what if some wealthy guy from Saudi or Dubai decided to help his Muslim brothers in Syria and Jordan? Would it be relatively easy to make, 1,000 of these?
On a 3D printer, um, with one 3D printer, it might be challenging, because you would only get three a day. With multiple 3D printers, probably a bit easier. Because at the end of the day, right, when you're 3D printing this, all you're doing is putting in the material and then pressing a button.
The PLA.
Yeah, well, in your case, you would not want to use PLA. We are using PLA for prototyping purposes. You would probably want to use, say, like nylon or PETG, as they have much better thermal characteristics.
And how much is that cost wise?
It's probably Um, it's probably for your total volume, probably like an extra 50 cents to $1.
So I'm thinking for the market, the people for Operation Room Key. So these are folks who are already in housing and they are not able to cook. They're in single room occupancy. And also for people who might be in foster care, something like that, and they can eat and then they can take extra food home at a place where they can wash it out. I think that's our first audience.
Okay.
I think the second audience would be internally displaced persons in the United States who have been displaced by fire, flood, earthquake, tornado, etc., and they're in a facility run by Catholic Charities or perhaps an, a service organization, and people are going to be bringing them food, and FEMA buys these and they get them. So FEMA buys 5,000 of these and they have them and
Okay.
they sit in the warehouse and they're taken to the site, or they're dropped by a drone to the site. If they come directly from food sector systems, they drop them, and this is what they use until they leave. If these were around with Katrina, the people who were in the Superdome, they would all get one of these. And when people came in with some sort of food and they'd have to line up, they'd bring this. The thing that I'm looking to do is somehow normalize what I saw in pictures as a youth, where people would line up to go to get soup or coffee and they'd have their own utensils, especially like the quote unquote soup lines. I
Mm.
mean, Now, will I buy one of these and with that money I will donate one? Possibly. If you have your utensils, will you buy one of these? This top is somehow cracked.
Oh, it's probably delaminated a little bit in that area.
So, you know, that's what I'm thinking. So small batches, I'm thinking, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, a few thousand, and but it initially might just be one shelter or one single room occupancy housing so that we could get a feel of how it works in a population. So if you're at a shelter overnight, or if you've had to leave your home because of a fire, you would be the test case. I think that this gives, and it's not a pedestal yet, but this gives an individual an opportunity to get more food. And I think somebody would want this. I really think somebody would see somebody pull this out and say, look how much he got. Because you've got this, you've
Yep.
got this, and you've got that. I think that's very appealing. I really do. Now, is that still a little less than a liter, or is that more? It looks like
Uh,
it's more
so that's
food
that's
space.
close to 2 liters. Let me just double check
Wow.
here what the numbers were. Bum. Yeah, let's see.
These black ones, they're extras. You said that they're rejects.
Yeah, the rejects, they did not have the clip for the actual utensils.
So why'd you send me rejects, man?
Posterity. They're essentially yours. They're not mine. I can throw them away, but like, you know, every print's got a story.
Every
Um,
print's got a story.
and it's as far as I'm concerned, I'm not the one in ownership of these. These are not my stories to throw away.
So from a design perspective, um, even a patent on this, because it is a unique type of tray system. Um, you're saying you have no ownership on this at all.
Um, Not
You own the
really.
file.
I own the file. That's the only ownership I can claim. I own the ability to modify and hold the file and distribute it. But that's the only ownership that I lay claim on, and that's because of technical purposes.
So when King Mohammed bin Salman wants to purchase these and he's going to give me $1 million, is that when you make me buy the files?
Um, if you so choose to, um, I mean, as it stands right now, the the actual IP is Food Sector Systems, as Food Sector System has contracted me out to come up with this design for it. If you want to own the file, uh, the the technical challenge is not the payment; it's the administration. You would have to create an Onshape account, and then we would transfer it over that way.
Well, you understand the technology and you understand the vision, and you've been able to articulate it in a way that really behooves me to continue my relationship with you. I mean, you you've been extremely helpful in this process, not only because you know how to work the software, but you understand how to create this. It hasn't taken you very much time to render what I have have literally either shown you or articulated verbally. I don't have any sketches or anything like that. I showed you a brown paper bag filled with things, and you said, "Oh, okay," and you got it.
Yep.
As far as this laminate piece, will this happen? Can these get delaminated?
So the way to fix that with a 3D print is to zero the bed properly. So if you want it printed without said delamination, we can make that happen. It's just a matter of dialing in the 3D printer for you.
So, what is the differentiator? The tray. The clamshells that are on sale now, they don't have a tray. They
Correct.
don't have a place to hold the actual. Even in, I sent you the link this morning. I texted you the link. The people world centric, they make the clamshell, they make the utensils, but they don't make something with the tray that holds the utensils. So that's a differentiator. And in terms of this size, I don't think that their container is this size. And hopefully, this will be a pedestal as well. But if not, it can still be put to the side, or it could be used as an extra plate. So someone could literally come up like this and say, like, just put some bread over here, just put that brownie over there, and give me my burger and fries in there, and put whatever on this. And then I'll walk back to wherever I'm going to sit down or stand and eat this. So you still have three, you have a three system, you have yeah, a three system meal kit, which is, I think, a great differentiator for people who are looking for food. Because I think that volume is what people are looking for if they're out getting food,
Mhm.
especially if they're out getting food. And it's secure so that if I eat some food and then take it back to where I have a little house in Van Nuys or downtown, or I'm in a shelter, um, it's durable, reliable, and safe. Um, these prototypes are printed. From a cost perspective, do you think that it would be much more reasonable to try and do the same thing with an injection mold?
With an injection mold, potentially, depending upon the injection process. I know some people that have manufacturing facilities in Mexico. And so if you like the design, right, we can start approaching them, sending them some design files and seeing, all right, what kind of pricing we can get for out of this.
It would be great if it was made here, because then it could be possibility for a workforce development monies to have small shops here in Los Estados Unidos. But it is what it is.
I mean,
But
it's an American company, despite the fact that they manufacture south of the border.
cool. Because I don't want price to be the killer, unless that there's some individual or nation or organization, so Catholic Charities, FEMA, LASA, Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, or someone, in Dubai. Um, will they buy thousands of these for the people that are flowing out of Gaza? Will, they've got Will the United Nations buy these? Will the World Food Program buy these? Will the International Organization of Migration buy these if they're of a certain cost? I don't know who would fit the bill. Would Jose Andres buy these to put the food in that is cooked locally for people in the areas where they go in and provide food for it? That's my concern. I believe that this is quite ingenious. I mean, to have this system working the way it does, I think is I think it works. I think it's clever. I think it's a great use of space. What do you think?
Um, I mean, it definitely has some things going for it that other like platforms or systems don't have. Um, so and the other thing is that this particular system has been designed to be manufactured in multiple different methods. But compared to say like other bento boxes, right? Most of those class of product, which is probably the closest analog, are designed for pre-specified rations. Or in
Yeah.
other words, right, like when someone's building their bento box at home, they're figuring out how to cook their food in order to ration it and package it inside the bento box. It's a complete process. Whereas with this is uh it's less so a matter of uh fitting fitting what you can eat into the bento box and more so fitting as much food as possible and then fitting it after the fact.
Yeah. And this has, I think, more food holding, storing, transporting capability than the Wahlburger box.
I believe so as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is appealing because if I'm hungry, I can load up and then, hey, is there any more? And then I can load up and go.
Mhm.
And I can do that in whatever situation I'm in. If I'm a kid who has who's in public school and has a shared table situation, I can take stuff home with me. And there might be kids who'd be jealous because they'd say, "Wow, where'd you get that?" Like if I pull this out and it was orange, or if I pull this out and this was orange and this was clear, and whatever's left over in the chow line at my school, I think there might be some kids who'd want one too, just because it's cool. I really do.
Okay.
Because it's not your typical bento box either, and it's not a typical lunch box, and it's MiKit. It's unique. It really is a unique system that takes, I think, some of the shame away. Let's say if you're in a school environment and lets you be lets you express who you are. So I was in New York over the weekend and I visited a friend who was in a rehab facility and the food sucked. He was like, "Oh man, this food is terrible." And I looked at how many pieces of, you know, the fruit cup was in here, the other stuff was in here, the main course was here. There was bread in a little glassine envelope over here, and it was just all over the place. I mean,
Mm.
it was just like on a tray. And looking at this now, if I had this to bring to him, or if they have this in the cafeteria, it would be a completely different conversation. And it wouldn't have I don't know how they'd wash it. I'm concerned about the washing aspect to some degree because I'm convinced that people would be able to wash it. They would be resourceful. But I know that people would complain about it not being hygienic and all that. But man, I'd be more concerned about the hygiene of the person carrying it than this being clean. I think that this would probably get better taken care of than the person who owns it if they're unhoused. If they're an open urban nomad, I would think that they would come in and they would smell bad. They would smell worse than this tray.
Potentially, potentially. Uh, One thing I do want to point out with the 3D printed version of this is if you hold it up and then hold it up so it's between you and a light source, you should see that you can see straight through it.
Yep. It's
Um,
like a very fine window screen.
yep. So that's probably a fairly um significant downside of it. And that might be the 3D printing settings, but that also exemplifies some of the like nooks and cranny issue that you may get uh, for said
With current
sanita. Yeah.
Yeah, but the primary nook and cranny is where the utensils are,
Well, the
and
nooks and
along the edge.
the nooks and crannies I'm talking about are the little holes or the little voids between where the plastic was laid upon.
Got it.
So there's like little channels in between. So like if a obviously you can see through it with light, you put some water in it, water's gonna go through it. Um, but that's also because there's space for the water to get into it.
Well, part of reliability means it's not leak proof. So I'm hoping that if water gets through it, that doesn't mean the juice from the succotash or from the greens can get through it too.
So
I don't want anyone to be in a situation where once they shut it, there's a threat of it leaking out anywhere.
we can dial in the 3D print process. Um, Ultimately, right, I don't feel that um that it should be the process moving forward.
You don't think that 3D should be the process moving forward?
No. Um, but that's not to say that I can't dial it in and see how close we could get. But again, right, uh, as it stands, that's $13 a print, right? And
That's
like,
pretty expensive.
yeah, and if you compare that to that other box that you showed me, right? They were charging what 24 cents a unit or so, something like that.
Mm.
And I'm fairly certain, right? The only way to get close to that is through this blow molding or injection molding process. And I think at 1,000 units, you'll you won't be at the quarter mark, but I think you'll be at like the $2 mark.
Even with the tray?
Yeah.
Because I think that people would pay for the tray and the utensils.
The other thing we could do, right, is design that tray and utensil insert for a pre-existing case. But that's not the spirit of the original design. Um,
No, and there would be the porous nature of the tray itself.
Yeah.
So you're concerned that with that porous characteristic, it could leak.
Yes. And the secondary portion of that concern is that by nature of what 3D printing is, or at least this type of 3D printing, there's no real way around it except for coating it in, say, like resin or some similar lacquer.
And that would make it even that much more expensive.
Yes,
And that would involve a human being doing something after it's coated, right?
correct.
So now you need a staff to make that happen.
Yep.
I think that what we're on to is having this feature and having this feature as either a plate or a pedestal and having it biodegradable or having it uh,
Compostable.
compostable, but not designed to be thrown away. Have it microwave safe, have it dishwasher safe, and you've got the utensils here. I think that I think that there's enough of a differentiator there to make the extra cost manageable. So now this MiKit is not. It's going to be durable, reliable, and safe, and you're going to be able to carry more food. You're going to be able to use a system that has that much more capability of eating food in the moment and then storing it and transporting it someplace else. And the top is going to be clear so that people can see, oh, that's food.
Mhm.
This is what you figure out in the process of designing it. If you just had extremely deep pockets, you could make a lot of these, but then even the time and the craftsmanship of putting it through these processes might not work. It's just really labor intensive.
Yeah. Um, so there's a couple of ways forward, right? So I can investigate resin printing it. The problem with using resin is that it requires post processing in terms of like making it biosafe. Um, so you have to give it a nice alcohol bath and make sure that there's no resin residue left after the process. Um, or we can lock in this design and we can investigate alternative manufacturing methods with the people that I know, or we can continue to refine the design um, for said different manufacturing methods um, for particular edits that you don't like about this version of it, and then we can revisit if we're going to stick with the 3D printing process or if we want to investigate other manufacturing methods.
Um, to have it secure so that it does not leak in whatever form it's finally rendered. Is it possible to use this as a pedestal or no? I
Uh,
mean, that's not, this isn't actually that bad. It fits more. It fits better than the.
than the first one.
Yeah, it fits much better than the first one.
Oh yeah, definitely. But if you need it to fit better still, we can make adjustments and make that happen.
Yeah, I would like that
Okay.
just so that you don't have moving parts that perhaps might make someone feel it's unwieldy.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I think it's nice to have that as a feature. It's not a must have, but I think it's a nice feature to have.
All right.
So you can use it as a pedestal, you can use it as a plate, you can use this for dessert or another plate. Utensils under there, and then you have all this space for actual food. When it's all done, you can do that and you can turn it over. But now whoever's cleaning this has to make sure that the bottom is clean so that the plate pedestal doesn't get compromised.
Mm.
And if you are in a place like a single room occupancy hotel, or if you're going home after school, there's a better chance that you'll clean it as opposed to someone who's an urban nomad who's probably going to just throw it in their carry bag and bounce. But I like this. This is I think with MiKit is onto something here. The amount of food that can come in here is significant. And then you could possibly, I'm thinking the way this fits, if you have an excess of food, it could sit on top of it safely.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to go all the way down the
Yep.
way that it can. So you could fill it to the top and maybe get another quarter, eighth of an inch in mac and cheese space or some other food space and then close it. Yeah. So talking to your American company in Mexico, I think is an idea. Seeing the value of possibly injection mold or blow mold. And we have these prototypes. I think that this is easier to manage than this. This is almost like a hamburger clamshell.
Mhm.
I mean, it's compact. I don't know if it gives the full capability of having a good amount of food. This is good work. So what's your time like? I just want to make sure that we can get as much done before you get busy and you get vendors licenses for people who are blind or anything and whatever else you're doing.
So I'm starting to ramp up for stuff. Definitely going to be ramping up for October. Um, so October might be where I start running out of pro bono time. Um, let's see. I think that's probably the timeline that I've got here. So, um, if I'm hearing you correctly, right, the only thing that we really want to adjust about this particular design is just making the pedestalness a bit more secure.
Yes.
Were there
And
any?
I'm imagining that those utensils fit snugly in here.
Yeah, those utensils fit snugly. They clip into it actually. So when you put them in, right, you actually have to kind of like bend bend the uh bend the utensil to get it to clip in. So
Okay.
there'll be like a little hook here, so you have to bend it, and then to get it past the hook, sorry. So you bend it past to get the hook, and then you put it down, and there you go. So
What about making this clear?
with 3D printing, that's kind of not. gonna happen unless I make it out of a resin.
Okay.
Um, and even with the resin, it's more more opaque than transparent.
And that could be good. That could be good because, well, there's no, I'm wondering if food could be compromised if it's clear and it's out in the sun and then it gets exposed to the sun through a clear top. So opaque might be better,
Well,
but I don't know.
that's the neat thing about the resin stuff is that it is UV sensitive. So I believe even after it's cured, um it will pull the UV out of the light. So you'll have a UV free light. Um Now I don't know if that's necessarily desirable, but
I'm not sure if it makes a difference. We were just talking about having it so that if someone says, "What have you got in there?" I can show them through the top and say, "It's just food," and it won't pop open.
yeah. And
It's
that's a
just
little
food. I don't have contraband. I don't have works. I don't have someone's hand. I have food.
yeah, and that's a lot more doable with say like the vacuum mold or blow mold or injection mold processes.
Mm.
Um because it all crystallizes as one continuous unit, not as layers like the way 3D printing does.
So if this were brought in with these extra features, this with that extra cost per unit, this I think could still be viable. So instead of it being $13 per unit, if it were $1 a unit or $2, if it could be under $5 a unit, that could work. I mean, the closer to under $5 would be great because to me, what it offers is so unique. I mean, this is different than anything I've seen. And I'll have to go and I might have to take a trip to REI or someplace to just see what some of them look like. My daughter had a small kit that would look like a little boomerang, and then inside it had a small cup with a lid, and it had nowhere near as much as this capacity. And people are going to want capacity. People are going to want to fill it up.
Mm,
And if they don't, and if they finish it, they're going to want to fill it up again. They're going to want to fill it up again, and they'll be able to. And they'll always have their utensils inside. Now, will they take care of it? Will they wash it? Well, if they have a sink, if they have a little house in some of these little house villages, I'll see if those places have cooking. But if they're still getting food when living in a little house, I think this is perfect. If they're getting food in an SRO, I think this is perfect. But it also has to be clear that it's dishwasher, that it's microwave safe.
mhm.
Because if someone does have a microwave, they're not going to cook, but if they have a microwave, they can use this. Over time, if 3D was used in a microphone, would it micro wave? Would it lose some of its strength? Would it lose its capacity to work the way it was designed to work?
Um With PETG, I I don't think so. The primary um the the primary deteriorating factor for most of the more thermally stable polymers is UV. So like ABS UV, ASA UV, PETG UV. Those are the things that will cause it the most degradation. Um,
Mm.
Microwave, not so much, but microwave affects PETG quite a bit simply because of how hot the water gets. Um, the PETG will be close to its recrystallization temperature, and so with like hot water, it would warp. Um, Sorry, not PETG, PLA will warp. Although I wonder what kind of PLA this stuff is because I saw on the World Centric website that their utensils are made with PLA.
I think it's corn based or
Well, they have some kind of some either it's a fiber or something that keeps it from um, deforming too much in high temperature. Because these guys seem pretty durable.
they really do. And I'm wondering over time, could someone snap them to when putting them on the lid?
Um, Again, with like UV and stuff, at a certain point it will become brittle. Assuming they don't have any UV stabilizers inside of the plastic.
Hmm.
Um, that's just the way PLA breaks down. A good example is like airsoft BBs. If you've seen them out in the sun for a long time, they start to like crumble.
Hmm. Well, we don't want that.
I mean, it depends on the characteristics you're going for. If you're going for biodegradable, crumbling might be desirable. If you're not going for biodegradable, crumbling is not.
Um, I want these things to last for more than 6 months. I don't want them to overheat in a box in a warehouse someplace.
Yeah,
And I don't want them to overheat in a box outside. So if there are three boxes, I don't want there at one point, oh, the box we had in storage is no good because of fill in the blank, you know.
yeah. And for that, right, your best bet is probably like a PETG type uh setup for the print.
I I'll just put out there that I had envisioned using this new technology or this burgeoning technology of 3D printing to make this. That was the kicker,
Mm.
like when it's going to be printed. I've been fascinated with the idea of printing since I met you.
I mean, if you would like, I could print it in resin, right? So you get around that whole layer issue that you get with PLA.
Uh huh.
The only downside is that resin's a bit more brittle. Uh, I do have
Mm.
I do have a tougher resin that's less brittle, and can take a couple of dings. Um, but if you abuse it hard enough, it will crack. Um,
Yeah, and there is definitely the possibility of it being abused, either inadvertently or purposefully.
so while the 3D printing idea is great, I think it only makes sense in a temporary time window.
What do you mean?
meaning in places where you have in situ 3D printing materials, but you don't have supply chain for plates or whatever. Because if you have traditional supply chain, right, it's much better just to ship a pre-manufactured parts.
Hmm. This is more complex than printing face shields. See, I had thought of the face shields as something that could be produced rather quickly in an environment that could support a 3D process. So instead of having something coming from another country, perhaps in 2 or 3 days, you could take, or a week, you could take the 3D printer that might be 4 hours or 5 hours away and make catheters, make bed pans, make face shields, and then take them and airdrop them as opposed to waiting for the Red Cross or waiting for the United Nations organization. This is more complex than that
Uh,
because how
yeah.
long it takes and the size of the machine and it takes it's more complex of a process.
Yes. One thing um that might be worth investigating, right, is the 3D printing in conjunction with, say, like vacuum molding. Um, but that's also assuming that you can get a vacuum, that you have a vacuum table at at the place that needs the parts. So that's like the compromise between rapid manufacturing and um cheapness and deployment time. Because once you have a 3D printed mold, right, and you got that nice and polished up, and you just suck sheets of plastic to it, you can start cranking them out really quickly.
But if you've got a wave of 500, a wave of 300 people, a wave of 200, and another wave of 400, it could be overwhelming.
Um, Maybe. Um, it really depends uh on how quickly you can get vacuum. Because if you have vacuum readily available when you're running this thing and you have sufficient heat, I've seen I've seen the ability to make vacuum molded things like really quickly.
So, say you're in Mexico City where your friend's American company is, and there's an earthquake someplace in Guadalajara. The capacity to make these before their version of FEMA gets to Guadalajara, what does that look like? If oh well they evacuated and there's a 2,000 people that are unhoused seeking shelter. How fast could you do that with that process you're explaining?
That assuming that someone has a vacuformer in Guadalajara, right? So you'd have like maybe 8 to 13 hours for the mold, right?
Hmm.
Maybe like another hour to 2 hours for the finishing. So you polish it up. Um, and then you put it on the vacuform. The vacuform, assuming that you're heating it up with with like an industrial like heat lamp, right? That takes about a minute. Um, and then you have like a preheater on the side, so you have
Mm,
preheated sheets. Um, you could do a vacuum, so like one every 30 seconds, if not faster.
really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's appealing.
but it does also require a little bit of manufacturing capability at that particular location, namely a pegboard table and a vacuum and a heating lamp.
Write down how what would be involved with that process. That could be interesting.
So let me send you a link to vacuum forming.
I'm almost ready to go. Are you almost? I've been up really a long day today.
Oh, no worries. Let me let me just send you a
Did you see what
YouTube
time
video.
I sent you those texts, right?
Yes, I did. Here we go.
I've had like, I find that if a meeting is kind of aggravating, it tires me out more than if I just had a meeting. Like I had two meetings that I really enjoyed, and then I had another meeting that was kind of jive. What's happening with my? I can't find my.
Look for the chat. If not, I'll just text it to you.
No, I have that. I can't find for some reason my mouse, not my mouse pad. My I don't have my cursor. I don't have my.
Try double tapping the upper left-hand corner of the trackpad. You have a Mac or a PC?
Oh, I got a Dell. No, it's an HP. It's an
Um,
HP laptop.
so you might also have like the function key, and then there's maybe on like your F5 or F6 button something that looks like your trackpad with like an X.
No, that's for sound. Yeah, just text it to me, please.
Yeah.
It comes in and out. This is old, by the way. I've
Uh,
had this for like 6 years. You're laughing. Does that mean it shouldn't matter how old it is?
e- Generally, uh, so like unless you've been like really beating up
No.
uh, on the actual hardware, most laptops last hardware wise last a long time. It's usually the software that fails you.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything disrespectful to this.
Like I've got a machine from 2014 that still works just fine. Well, would I trust it? Would I trust its software on like a banking website? Maybe not so much,
Hmm.
but all right, just texted it to you. But it still works for most of what I need. Like if I needed to edit some SVG files or DXF files or PDFs or write a document, it's like it just works just fine.
Hmm. Hey, let me ask you. You said October, no more pro bono time. What's your rate? How much do you normally when you're engaged?
So when I'm in consulting mode, it's about 150 an hour. When I'm just in design mode, it's so like for instance, if we go here, we'll just we'll go to the design stuff so I can give you a more concrete example. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so for instance, like if we go here where I modeled the knife, because this is a fairly simple example, right? So um, this right here would be like $4. Um, this, because it's pulled from something else, would be $4. But the $4 would then, well, we'll go to the spoon because that was the one I did first. Um, so $4, $4, uh, $4. So this is a dollar. This is, let's see here. This is $5. Yeah, this is $5. Um, this one's $5. Uh, this one's a dollar. Um, this is a dollar. Sorry, no, this is $5. Um, this is a dollar. This is $5. $5. Um, this one's $5. So let me. This looks like. Let me just calculate it right here. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5
What are you
plus.
charging by the piece or the time or?
I charge by the feature.
Okay.
So so the way this works is I charge by the feature. Um, most features are 5. Um, okay, so for like something like this, because it had to be exactly what it was, this is like $74.
Hmm.
Um, which like I don't know what the average person thinks about it with something like this, but that's how much it cost me to put this together. And then, right, anytime there's a change, right? So say I need to modify this drawing a bit. Anytime I change, so if I change this a bit, that's $4. If I change this a bit, that's $4. If, however, I make it like make like it configurable, so a better example would be this one, right? So I've made like little configuration bits right here, right? So changing one of these would be $1. So if I could make like a table of different modifications and I just change that table, each modification is like $1.
Hmm. Okay.
That way, like the people that I work with have a fairly good idea of how much it's going to cost.
Okay.
Um,
So I got to get more money.
well, hopefully, right, we can focus in on a design before the pro bono stuff runs out, right? And then we can focus on using your budget on the actual manufacturing and getting stuff out to people. Um, and again, that's the reason why I was like, I'll do it pro bono because I can do this. I'm in a situation where this is equally beneficial to me to show you what I'm doing, but also to record it. Um, and then we can focus most of the budget on actually like making something.
Got it.
Yeah, and
So we
and
have a little over a month to figure out what that is and what process it is, and then the possibility of, okay, we're going to make 20 of them to put out into the world.
yeah. Although if you're doing like injection molding or what have you, I'd recommend like 100 to 500.
Okay. And we're going to figure that out hopefully in the better part of this next month and a half.
Yes. That,
That
that's
sounds
why that's why I keep returning to, all right, do we like the design, or are there things we still need to change about it?
got it. To lock those things in.
Yes, because because if you don't lock those in or you find issues with it, like any little issue, right? The cost of fixing that issue magnifies as you go through this
Got it.
process. So we want to make sure that if there's any kind of like this sucks or this isn't right or this is this doesn't quite line up exactly the way we want it to, or there's any like that weird little like grinding in the back of your head when you're dealing with something, you got to be like, okay, I don't like this. I don't, let's fix
Mhm.
this. Let's change this. Let's change it in this particular manner. And then from that point, right, I reprint it, and then we test it. We verify how it works, uh, until we're like, okay, we are happy. We like how this is. We're gonna
Mhm.
lock this in place, and then we're gonna take it to uh, where the big spending is gonna happen.
Okay.
And just to give you an example of other pricing, um, in terms of manufacturing, let me just go here. Now, these guys are American, um, and let's see. Ugh, all right, give me a second. Um, so these guys are American, and they're they're a good indication of how much it'll cost to do something here in the United States. What time you got to wake up tomorrow?
Probably at about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Okay, so we should probably wrap this up real quick here.
You saw me
Um,
counting sheep a little bit.
yeah, a little bit. All right.
I just sniffed some of these boxes. Get some energy.
All right. Let's see.
I think this design is coming along nicely. I think that you have articulated it very well. I'm looking forward to getting the utensils that I ordered this morning to see how they fit. I haven't put water in it to see, but this one, of course, is cracked, so it would leak. But I didn't try the water test with the other one and didn't notice the porous nature of it. But this one doesn't look. Oh, I see. Yeah. See, I don't want anything weird to happen. Wow. Real difference in terms of size. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, one could actually sit on the other.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay.
Welcome back.
And oh,
I hope that's not my order. $10,224.72.
no, that was something I was doing.
August 29th, 2023. Okay. Otherwise, I'd have to take my nitroglycerin pills and revive myself.
Uh, I don't know if they have um, a vacuum forming quote, but we can definitely take a look at that. Uh,
Hmm. How long have you been doing this?
designing.
Yeah.
So I've been designing since 2011.
Wow. You've seen a lot.
I have, and I feel like some people have definitely seen more than me though, because I haven't been doing only design work, mechanical design work. I've been doing a lot of other design work as well. Okay,
Hmm.
why is it recommending? That's such a. It's recommending tube bending. No, no. Let's see here. Okay, so let's do urethane and silicone casting. Um, Finish. All right, we'll do semi-gloss. Um, okay, that should be. Oh, no way.
What's that?
That's thing is gonna cost quite a bit, so we'll just do injection molding. Let's do quick turn prototype. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's right. Material. Um, PET. Colored natural. Okay, cool. Do that.
What's
Oh.
your turnaround time on this next little beginning of next week?
Um, I'm hoping to I'm hoping to turn it around fairly quickly. Um, I'd like to get it to you by Monday.
Okay.
Manual quote. Wow. Um, okay. I wonder why it picks all these different processes. Um, let's see.
I don't know, man. If this goes well, I'll be on Shark Tank.
Mhm. Let's see,
How do you
A3.
spell Jotamus? You're like, well, I've been doing this since I was 6.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it cost to 3D print from this company. Um,
Wow. $115?
yeah,
We're not going to use them.
let's see. Uh, PETG? No PETG? Um, let's see what polycarbonate looks like. Oof.
What's that?
Just seeing how much it would cost to 3D print it out of polycarbonate.
143 or 150, 142 or 153.
Yeah, 142. Either or.
Might as well
Uh,
get some Wedgwood.
yeah, and
Might
then
as well
if
get some China for this.
yeah, pretty much.
I'm
Uh,
hoping that if it's a couple of bucks, because of the design, people will say, well, huh, I can pay for that. That's a differentiator. That tray, those utensils, I think those are unique. And the amount that it holds. I think those are three differentiators which make it a conversation.
all right. So it looks like
Hoping for
I have to I have to uh looks like I have to have them quote it for me.
hmm.
So we'll just do that. But yeah, that's the kind of prices that I look at when dealing with this stuff. And hence why I was like save it for um save it for the prototyping.
Hmm.
Save it for the actual production run because that's when you're going to need it.
You think it'll cost me $10,000 or $5,000 or?
Well, with my guy, I'm hoping it'll cost you under 5,000 to get this stuff done. Um, but I mean, I can't speak to his quoting process. So
Hmm.
I just know that he tries to be reasonable, and that because he's manufacturing it in Mexico, the labor cost isn't super high.
You know, the people down there chained to the machines.
I don't exactly know how that works out. I just know that uh they don't they don't charge $20 an hour minimum wage for work.
And that's why he's there.
Yeah. He's the engineer slash professional uh making sure that stuff comes out properly.
Hmm.
Um and that's one of these quick turnaround places. There's a couple of other ones. Um but yeah, when you're actually manufacturing the stuff, it can get pretty pricey.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah.
I guess my dream has been quaboshed by the reality of cost.
Um and cost isn't like if you want it made in the US, cost is a fairly fixed thing. But if you don't want it made in the US, cost can become a lot lower. And
Well, let's go for that solution.
I know some manufacturers in India um, that might be willing to look at a project like this.
Okay. Tata Industries,
Well, I don't know anyone with Tata, but uh,
Modi Manufacturing.
I'm talking more kind of like mom and pop kind of deal. Real local connects, if you know what I'm saying.
You gotta bring the big guns, man.
So
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, listen, I appreciate this work, and I look forward to seeing it on Monday.
okay, so I'll make it more stackable, or make it easier to stack, so to speak, easier to put it on a pedestal, and then uh print it up, um, and then send it to you.
Thanks. Do you
Uh,
need? I don't have a USPS account. I have a FedEx account, but FedEx might be more expensive to get it here.
FedEx is probably more expensive. Um, and part of the reason why I was doing this is to see how much time I would spend doing this, as well as how much it would
Mhm.
cost me. Um, I'm still running the numbers, but my gut feeling is that it's probably cheaper for me just to meet you at Denny's and then figure out how to
Mm,
record this whole thing. The only thing about recording this whole thing is that I won't get any of my face because the camera will be focused on capturing your part of the story.
maybe I don't know. Maybe have a third party come and videotape us,
Yeah,
like my dog.
well, if you want to do that, that'd be cool. I don't have anybody who's in a position to do that.
Hmm.
Because I know how much something like this also costs. This uh, getting video recordings of stuff isn't cheap either.
Yeah.
But I will save this video, and then if you want, I will send you. So I'm trying to make torrenting a thing again. Um, but for like legitimate purposes. So I can send you a torrent link of the video, so that way you can download it.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
And I'll look at the video that you texted of the vacuum molding.
yep. Alrighty. So I don't want to take any more of your time, Calvin.
No, thank you. I appreciate this. Your turnaround time is remarkable, and your products are remarkable. And this is a good. I'm satisfied.
Cool.
Can I just get some more of them collard greens? Nah, just put them here. Yeah, just put them on that. Let me get one of them chicken wings. Just put it inside there. Just put it inside. Nah, put the biscuit on top. I don't want to get it soggy.
Yep.
Can I have more spaghetti and meatballs, please?
Yeah. So play around with it. Let me know if there's anything else that should be adjusted or modified. That way I can get it done before printed.
Okay. So pedestal bottom if possible.
Hmm.
And if this were any snugger, it could be problematic. So I think this is. I think that works. Okay.
All right.
My kit. My kit. My kit. My kit. My kit. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening and a great day tomorrow.
Thank you, Calvin. Have a good night.
You
Have a
too.
great day.